All right, let's get right into it. Have you ever been scrolling online, you see some painting that looks like a total mess sell for millions, and you just think, why? I mean, is it really about the art? Well, not exactly. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on why the super rich are dropping fortunes on art, wine, and yeah, even shiny Pokemon cards. It's a little strategy we're going to call the art of hiding leaves.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Having millions of leaves, or, cash, sounds like a pretty good problem to have, right? But believe it or not, for the wealthiest monkeys out there, a giant pile of cash is a massive, blinking red light. It's a huge liability that creates two big, unavoidable problems they are constantly trying to solve.
And here are those two problems. On one side, you've got inflation. If you just let your millions of leaves sit there, they start to lose their power. They basically begin to rot as their value gets eaten away. And on the other side, you've got the tax silverback. This big fella, the IRS, he can see every single leaf sitting in your bank account, and you better believe he is coming for his share. So what do? How do you stop your leaves from rotting and getting snatched up? Well, you've got to find a totally different way to store your bananas. You need to turn all those leaves into something real, something tangible that holds its value, and crucially, something that's a whole lot harder for that tax silverback to see and count. So, welcome to the weird world of alternative banana storage.
And this is where it gets interesting, because this is where hobbies become seriously powerful financial tools. We're talking painted bananas, which is just fine art, fermented banana juice, you guessed it, fine wine, and a personal favorite, shiny cardboard bananas. Yep, high-end collectible cards. For the rich, these aren't just for fun. No way. These are strategic assets for protecting and, let's be honest, hiding their wealth.
Okay, so how in the world do these painted bananas and shiny pieces of cardboard actually help them keep their leaves? Well, it really boils down to three brilliant and completely legal tax hacks. This is the real meat and potatoes of the whole strategy, so let's break them down. Hack number one is all about something called capital gains. See, when you and I work a regular monkey job, we get hit with income tax immediately. It's a big chunk. But the wealthy, they make most of their money from selling assets, like stocks, or in this case, a painting. The tax on the profit they make from that sale, the capital gains tax, is way, way lower.
And just look at this chart. The tax on a regular job is this massive, towering bar. But the capital gains tax? It's like half the size. This is huge. It means they can have a painting on their wall for years, watch its value go up, and pay zero tax on that growth. They only pay that much smaller tax if they ever decide to sell it. The big lesson here is pretty clear. It is way better to make money from your stuff than from your
All right, if you thought that was clever, get ready, because this next one is where things get really, really creative. It's called the donation loophole, and it is an absolute masterclass in turning subjective value into a massive tax break. So here's how this little trick works. Step 1, a rich monkey buys a painted banana for, say, 100 leaves. Step 2, they hire an appraiser monkey who takes a look and says, you know what, this artist is hot right now, this painting is actually worth 1,000 leaves. Step 3, they turn around and donate that painting to a museum. And here's the final move. They claim a tax deduction not for the 100 leaves they actually paid, but for that brand new, much higher appraised value of 1,000.
And boom, that's the jackpot. By spending just 100 leaves, they have legally created a 1,000 leaf tax deduction out of thin air. They've essentially used a piece of art to just erase a huge part of their tax bill. It's an absolutely incredible return on investment.
But what if you don't want to deal with your country's tax system at all? I mean, what if you want to be completely off the grid? Well, for that, there's hack number 3, the offshore piggy bank. This is all about moving your assets completely beyond the reach of the tax silverback.
Here's the play. A rich monkey buys some super expensive art or wine, but instead of shipping it home, they send it directly to a high-security, climate-controlled warehouse in a place like the Cayman Islands or Switzerland. Now, because the art never technically enters their home country, they completely sidestep import taxes and sales taxes, so the asset just sits there, in a vault, in a tax-free bubble, gaining value. It is literally a piggy bank hanging on a wall in another country.
Okay, so this all sounds like a bulletproof plan, right? But it is anything but. Stashing your wealth in these kinds of assets isn't just a clever financial move, it is a massive, high-stakes gamble. There are some huge risks here that we definitely need to talk about.
And this quote from one of the sources really just says it all. The value of these assets is a rocket-powered roller coaster. Think about it. A stock, at least in theory, represents a real company making real stuff. But the value of a collectible? Well, it's just whatever someone else is willing to pay for it at any given moment. Sure, That value can go to the moon, but it can also crash and burn overnight. And that brings us to a word that a lot of you probably know from the world of crypto, the rug pull. That moment when the hype just vanishes, all the buyers disappear, and the value of your asset completely collapses.
And this is the point we really have to understand. These shiny cardboard bananas are not fundamentally different from crypto or NFTs. Their value is almost entirely speculative. It is driven by hype, by trends, by what's cool. The second people decide they don't care about that rare Pikachu card anymore, the monkey holding it is just left with a worthless piece of cardboard.
So after all that, what's the final verdict? What should we make of this whole strategy? Well, for the big takeaway, let's turn to the legendary investor himself, Warren Baboon, for his final word.
This financial tier list sums it up perfectly. When it comes to tax avoidance, these assets are S tier. They're the best in the game, no question. But when it comes to liquidity, which is just a fancy word for how easily you can sell them and turn them back into cold hard cash to buy bananas, they are E tier. Absolutely terrible. I mean, you can't exactly walk into the grocery store and pay with a Picasso, right?
And that leads us to the most important question of all, doesn't it? This stuff is fascinating to learn about, but what does any of it actually mean for the average working-class monkey out there?
Well, the advice from the source material is pretty straightforward. Unless you've got millions of leaves that you need to hide from the tax silverback, you should probably stick to what it calls low-key fire. You know, the boring, slow and steady stuff like index funds. This is probably not the time to take out a loan to buy a $50,000 Pikachu card. And of course, please remember, none of this is financial advice.
And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. The rich use these assets as a very specific tool, a shield, a piggy bank to protect their wealth from taxes and inflation. But for most of us, our money needs to be doing something else. So you have to ask yourself, is your piggy bank just hanging on a wall, or is it out there in the world actually working for you?